But yeah, I've
No,
always
I'm not.
looked up to you.
I think I'm almost 10 years older than you. 7?
Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm bad
So
at I
that
don't know the math.
that counts. I think that counts on your like finding someone in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s if you can if you can find it. But I think that counts. And here's the other thing I'll say. Your life can change in a moment. All of those things that I heard you just rattle off, I don't have a partner, I don't have a child, those things happen so quickly if that's what you want. And so, where it may feel like, you're not working in this evenly paced, linear way, it's not the way life works. Um, And so if you're going about like, okay, each day is pacing like this. And so if I met somebody, it would be paced out like that. And then I'm like, before you know it, I'm 40 years old. Like I know that math because I've also been there myself. Um, but life, we don't know how life is going to move. And it isn't always linear. And perhaps you can think about the time that you're spending now. Sometimes I like to think about pulling back an arrow on a bow.
Mm.
And the longer you're pulling back for whatever that goal is, wherever you want to land, you're pulling back, you're pulling back, you're pulling, your arm is getting tired, the string is getting tight. When you let that thing go at the right moment, like the arrow has all of that momentum. And that's actually sort of linear. So that's not matching perfectly with my non-linear thing. But you're pulling back the bow. There is going to be a lot of momentum. Also, you're talking about partner and child, like those are miracles of love. We don't we don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the timing is like. And love has its own timeline. You meet someone and the attraction and familiarity, like that whole trip of love is intense and things can happen very quickly. And you can know within, 6 months of being with someone that this is your person and this is who you want to make a family with. And within a year, you can be partnered and pregnant. The only thing we do know is that a baby takes, usually around 10 months to come out. Like that you can bank on, but things can happen very quickly in 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, that was so I I've been following you and Moon Juice. I've been a fan of Moon Juice. I would order it on the internet when I lived in Michigan, when I was in college and like obsessed with wellness. And I've been a fan of yours for a long time. So I've obviously, kept in touch with you and we're friends on Instagram and I saw your life unfold, but I hadn't actually listened to this episode that I listened to yesterday where you talk about how this unfolded for you and how, I feel the exact same way that you were mentioning it at the time when you met your husband or when you reconnected with your husband and how it sounds like you had been pulling back the bow and you had been in
Mm-hmm.
that phase where you were ready for it, but you had this tension between needing alone time and wanting a partner. And I really relate to that. And, just the wanting to prioritize the things that you're pulling back the bow things like meditation and these practices that you found really useful, but knowing that you're going to have to toss those aside in a way and navigating that time. So I guess, yeah, do you have any like thinking back to that time? What did you learn and where are you with relationships and connection and even friendship, which is completely undefined? Like, where are you with all of that now and how has your understanding of it evolved?
Yeah. Well, so for perspective for you, I was your age when my husband and I got together. And so, yeah, is that correct? 34? I think so. 34. I believe so. And so, a lot can happen. I'm telling you, Katie, you're going to go back and listen to this one day and be like, oh yeah, a lot happened.
You'll have to come back
Um,
with me and we'll
mhm.
debrief.
We'll remember this conversation. What has evolved there? I think I am in a season. So there's the season you spend really feeling ready to have a family, ready to have a partner, ready to have a baby, perhaps, and create that family unit. And there's so much wishing and desiring and fantasizing. And then the person comes along, and that is answered prayers. And you're, also so high on the love chemicals. And then in my case, our daughter, who I also had prayed for so long, she came along and the birth was miraculous. And so you have all of this, I don't know, it feels very Venusian, this like Venusian phase of calling the people in, calling them down, all of that. And then you get everything that you asked for and prayed for. And then you go into just the work and management phase, the building phase. I don't know if it's the building phase, the tending phase, which is a really different energy. And so, like long sleepless nights and late mornings and poems and I don't know, like all of those things, all of that energy that's required to really bond people together and pull souls down from wherever they're coming from out and through your body. Like that is a vibe. And the vibe of paying the bills, keeping, your house in functional order, keeping children alive, healthy, happy. Like that is a very different vibe. And in my case, it's also a business, which I've just never worked so much in my life. I think there's a thought as an entrepreneur, like 13 years in, you maybe have this assumption that it gets less complicated or less overwhelming or less terrifying at times. And that is not the case for me. I find it to be even bigger now. The stakes are higher. I have like more fears and stress around that. And it asks of me every day to level up and learn things and move faster. So, yeah, I'm in a very particular life phase right now that just feels like a lot. There's a lot to manage, there's a lot of work. And I think I could do a better job of, well, no, I think I do try to prioritize like finding the joy in all of that, and to remember it was not so long ago that you didn't have all of these things to manage. And now you have them all and you have them all at once, and how to keep everything on the rails. And, I kind of put that into the aging conversation too. It kind of sits there. And I do also think we're going to keep referencing this book. And so I hope anybody that hasn't read this book, go buy it, go read it. You can read it in like 3 days.
Yeah, I did.
It's like a weird, wild, wonderful trip. But that also is part of this aging process of, in your youth, you look a certain way, you feel a certain way, like your days are organized in a particular way. And so, there's like the life structure stuff. And I guess not for everyone, but for me, it's not just the way that I look in the mirror. It's how I spend my time feels very much a part of that process. And so that can feel, I guess, in the same way we can look at ourselves and see ourselves aging and have those moments of, at the start of my gray hairs, like just wanting to pluck them out. as if and wouldn't grow back, just some moment of, you brought the word back, micro hysteria. Yeah, some like non-rational moment of like, I just need it gone now and forget about next week when, there will be four more.
Like emails.
Yes, that is another aging, dance with age that I have is like, wow, this is so intense. You wake up and you see your gray hairs, which for like an update on gray hairs now, I have started getting some highlights for the first time in my life to actually just blend the gray in. So I don't cover the gray that's in my brown. I put a little honey highlight in it, it sort of blends them in. Transition phase. Yeah, that's one of the big aging pieces for me. Is like, whoa, I have to get up, like, forget about these gray hairs. How about the fact that I've got 800 emails that are consequential that I really need to give adult thought and presence to? And I also have two children that needed to be tended to. And like, I've got to be ready for a meeting and, out the door in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That wasn't a very good answer to how am I feeling
No.
about relationships and all of that. But I think that is kind of like where I'm feeling, whether it's a romantic relationship with my husband or friends even. Like I am mourning that a bit, just being in this life phase where there's so much that you wanted to handle and there really is not time for dinners with friends or a walk or coffee. And again, that's a product of the way that I work and what I've taken on with my business and growth. But I do think that that came up in this book that we keep referencing, her time and the monotony of what middle life looks like with work and a child and a home and what that brings to a marriage and to friendships. I mean, she kind of had her spicy feminine relationship that was a constant in her life. And I guess in small ways I have that. And that feels like, that feels like the most youthful energy I have in my life is little stolen conversations with my female friends.
Yeah. We're having one right now.
Right, yeah, totally.
I think that that book too, the unnamed narrator vacillates between exactly what you're saying, like so much deep gratitude for everything she's built in her life, and then also curiosity and also present future, I think future dread and future excitement, and then past nostalgia and past like, oh my God, I made it through. It's what you said about answering the question. You answered it perfectly, because that's the thing, like everything is everything, like relationships, aging, work, like it's all kind of one big soup, really. And I think when I can remember that and not silo things, I mean, of course we have to in some ways, but yeah, that all really hit me hard in like this entire conversation. I think you've articulated so much of this that I've been contemplating. And I think around work and Moon Juice and everything that you've built, and that you're still so involved in the business, and growing up with your mom as the main breadwinner and someone who worked as did I. And it sounds like that's also something that we shared. But you mentioned, and it's something that I read or heard from you, that your mom would often work late and was often, it sounded like you're dealing with now in some ways, but busy. And this is one of my other phrases of yours, actually, and of ahead of micro hysterical moments and bodies heal. This is probably my favorite, and one that I use all the time. And I need to actually tell my friend Captain, like, thinks it's mine, but I need to tell him that I actually got it from you. But I say it quite often, where you said once, I don't even know if you remember this, you're like, I have panic levels of computer work.
No, I don't remember saying that, but it sounds very relatable.
You said it on Instagram or something, and I think I was just like, oh, that's a way to put that. But anyway, how do you handle when you feel that way, that you would want to say something like that? Like how do you handle overwhelm, or like looking at, you seem also like a very present, inspiring mom with your kids, and in your relationship with your husband, like you seem so in love, and it's really inspiring me. But I also have heard and know how involved you are in this business, and you don't have a co-founder, and it is, you of course have a team, but how do you manage when you feel that way, what do you do? Push through, or do you have some processes?
Well, I'll preface to say that it all feels impossible. So this is not a moment of me trying to sell anyone on like women. We can have it all. You can have a marriage, a business, children, health, friends, joy. Like just have a little lemon water in the morning and take a bath. Like, no. um,
Lemon water and
I feel like I have bitten off way more than I can chew. It feels impossible. I feel like I'm presence. I mean, I am presence. That is correct. I feel like I'm present to whatever is in front of me, but I feel divided. So I will be present to work when that is in front of me, and that is in front of me most every day. I will do my best to give each of my children presents when I'm with them. And so it's easiest for me to do that when I'm not also trying to do work. So evening time, weekend, I've been better in the last 2 years of really saying we have to take family vacations. I never did that before in like 11 years prior at Moon Juice. And so that's a newer thing for me of we have to regularly take time off as a family. So once a quarter, 3 times a year, something like that, really honoring that time. I can be really present to that. But like, gosh, it feels impossible. I'm in a phase of life now that feels totally unreasonable, totally impossible. And how is anyone doing this? And so, if you were to go inside my head and my interior, you would hear a lot of, this is impossible. How am I supposed to do this? This is too much. This feels crazy. Is anyone else feeling like this? Like that is, I hear a lot of that in my head these days. And then I take a deep breath and I get to it. And I think the presence helps me. So when I'm in meetings, when I'm problem solving, and that's a lot of hours of the day, I'm not having the thoughts, this is impossible. I can't do this. Can anyone do this? This is crazy. I'm not having those thoughts. I'm having the thoughts of what sentence are we going to write? What do these margins look like? Let's pull up that spreadsheet again. That's all that's happening there. When I'm with my children, they are so joyful that when I really can let go of a phone, let go of an agenda, timing, rushing, all of that, and just be with them, I can do that. And yeah, I wish that we need to get back into the groove of really prioritizing marriage, relationship time to do that. I think we were really good for a while there before the last eclipse in April. It was good. My husband went on tour for almost a month. We joined him and had some really nice time. And so we're kind of back to the chaos of it's all too much. And I'm really seeing like, gosh, it sucks when you have someone that you love and you're managing all of these things and there's never time to sit down and enjoy with each other. So doing a better job there, but like there's no formula for this. And if it looks like I've got it all figured out on Instagram, that's because that's what that platform does. And I don't have like an answer or solution for this feeling. I think I've got resilience and And that resilience has come from, I don't know, maybe something that I was born with, maybe something I created as a child going through hard things. I know that definitely, like really simple things like mushrooms and adaptogens and minerals, not having alcohol, being mindful of how caffeine is affecting me, sleep, like all of those things play a big part in helping that inherent or built resilience stay on the rails. So I do those things, but I don't walk around this life saying, like, I got this. I do have moments of passion that I think really keep me coming back every morning to like chop wood, carry water again, because I definitely feel like that is my life phase, chop wood and carry water. And so I think that keeps me going. Some of the tactical things that I mentioned to keep the body and mind healthy and on the rails, but also a feeling of faith, hope, and then maybe just the discipline of being able to get out of bed every morning and keep my body moving despite my head saying, this is impossible. I can't do this. I'm feeling really nervous and scared about certain things. What is the outcome going to be? How am I going to solve for this? Like, I let those voices play out in my head. And if they get loud enough, that'll turn into body chemistry that feels uncomfortable. One could call that anxiety. I like to think of it as thoughts that make body chemistry that make me feel uncomfortable. And I think there's something beyond those voices. There's something bigger than those voices that say, love you, hear that, no matter what, you're going to be okay. So get to the computer or pick up the phone or get in the car, keep going. This is uncomfortable. And this too shall pass, No one's going to be anxious and uncomfortable forever. So I think that's sort of the recipe for, and I don't know, I feel like I really had a hard time, I think 2 years ago, when I was maybe 3 years ago. I don't know. I think when I was 39, I was really feeling upset and angry about this thing that I feel like I was fed, we were all fed in the 80s and 90s, this notion that like women can do it all. There was such a rah-rah for women doing it all and like go out there and have your career and have your marriage and have your children and have your friends and be a nice person and be a gracious host and be beautiful and be fit and be healthy. Like, that's not real. And I think we were like fed this picture of a woman that was just doing it all with a smile on her face and like whatever that looks like, whoever you're referencing in your mind, and arriving to the place of I'd worked so hard to make sure I got all the things and ticked all the boxes. So, a home and a career and children and a partner, arriving to the weight of having all of those things and being a breadwinner and all of that is like, whoa, this is so hard. This is near impossible. And reaching out to some women that had been a beacon of that and saying like, hey, did I get this wrong? This feels so hard. This is impossible. And to hear everyone echo back like, oh yeah, it's impossible. It sucks. It'll make you feel sick. Like, oh, I was like, wait, why did nobody say this out loud before? That like, yes, it's an option to have all of these things, but it's going to be painful and feel near impossible. So I think I like arrived to that place at 39, felt really upset, like saw the anger move through me of like, who sold me this story? And why didn't you tell me the truth? And then I think I went into mourning, like some grievance around it of just like, okay, so I'm not Superwoman. Like, that's not real. Superwoman isn't real. And it's hard and scary. And like, again, that vision of super woman that has the confidence and she's got all the answers and like she knows how to guide her marriage and all of that. I think I grieve the fact that I was not that person and I was not having that internal experience of that. And then I think I moved into another phase of acceptance that it's just hard. And so now I'm really honest with myself and I'm really honest with anyone around me and anyone who asks, like, gosh, this is hard and maybe too hard. And I don't know what the answer is, but I'm going to keep giving it 200% and do the best that I can. And I think like now, kind of just some acceptance of I don't really see anyone as being a failure now. I think there was a time 10 years earlier or 20 years earlier, 7 years earlier, maybe even 5 years earlier, there was like a real fear of failure and maybe judgment towards other people that looked like they had quote unquote failed or like missed an opportunity. And I think that's shifted in me, or is like even shifting now. Divorce isn't failure. I think there's like a lot of compassion and kindness that I feel around divorce stories, whether it's a friend or, divorces that happened 30 years in the past. Like I visit that with, gosh, it's so hard to make everything work. And that's not a failure. I look at, businesses that go under or founders that exit, in terms that they probably didn't want to, and where that felt like such a scary failure before. I think I look at that now, and I think I have to look at all of these things up close and personal because they feel like distinct possibilities for me every day. It's like the stakes feel very high, and when you have so much on your plate and you're looking at, wow, these things that we could look at as failures are happening every day to people I love and know and respect all around me. I think that's like a newer thing that I'm getting into, is just reframing those things not as failure, because I think I'm starting to unpack a lot of just fear I have around failure. And I don't think that the fear I have around those failures, or, my attempts to try to control to not fail, I see that they're not really serving me. And I see that an attitude of, hey, it's not failure. It's not a black and white. That's not the end of the story. That's a snapshot, will actually serve me. And so trying to bring back some of just the fearlessness that I think I had in my 20s. Which if we want to bring it back to the book, Katie, we could bring it back to the book, right? Like
Our
that's
patron
probably,
saint
yeah.
or confession.
Yeah. I think she's sort of walking through some of that stuff too. And I also just have to say that, you brought up the term that I guess I had used, micro moments of hysteria.
Mm-hmm.
That book is kind of like a micro moment of hysteria that just keeps turning to the next micro moment of hysteria that, just becomes a moment, a macro moment of hysteria, which I thought was so interesting about the book. It's like, whoa, we can all relate to these like little hysterical thoughts, little hysterical moments, little weird choices, but to see them just sort of like run wild was alarming and relatable.
Yeah, and cathartic, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You're very good at turns of phrase, like, or at least to me, I don't know if I'm like, people come to you for, the sex dust, and then I'm like here for the panic levels of computer work and like your prose. But just now, I just I just wrote this down, how you were like, yeah, some people call it anxiety. I call it thoughts that make body chemistry that makes me feel uncomfortable. You just casually said that, and I'm like, that's so good. Like that's just such a excellent reframe, and like just the way that you're kind of looking at this stuff of, it really is all connected. And I think, when you were like, yeah, if it looks this way on Instagram, it's not. That's what that platform is. Well, if that's what that platform is, what this platform is the opposite. And I think that's why I really love it. You know, I think I really love these long form time capsule conversations where, you know, like an hour and a half in, we get kind of loose and just, you know, realize that we're just people with each other and just sort of talk about whatever comes up. And you shared so much today that I'm really going to keep thinking about. And I feel like these topics, like you were saying, with not being able to have it all at least at the same time, or you know, we have all these different buckets but we only have so much water, so sometimes one's going to be overfilled and the other one's empty and whatever. And yeah, I just think you're doing a great job and I really appreciated all of your honesty about it. And oh, and this is the other thing I was thinking too, like all of this, when we talk about aging or we talk about vanity, we talk about beauty or mortality or maybe not mortality. I don't know that that falls into what I'm about to say, but work, and especially what you're saying with judgment and divorce, and same, like even I look at my parents and I'm like, oh my God, like you were children when you had me, and like you're both difficult people. Like, of course, like good job on the divorce, you know, like it's all the less we're judging other people, the it's very connected to fear because it's just, I guess, our self judgment maybe, and thinking of ourselves too much, you know, or when we can not judge other people, or, you know, even, you know, my thing lately is like this whole feeling behind or feeling like I, you know, whatever. And I think that's just a judgment of, I must be judging other people for being ahead then, you know, or judging other people for being behind me, or, you know, so it's just, yeah, man.
Which
Micro
makes it
judgments.
harder. Like that,
Yeah.
like that's what I realized is there was something about, you know, if you do get married, if you are partnered, if you do start a family with someone, there's this like, I mean, maybe it's just me. I don't know. People will relate or not. But all of a sudden there's this internalized fear around failure. And I didn't know that I was going to have that. And then building this thing, it's like, despite loving my partner very much, knowing that we are the right fit and that everyone's giving it they're like, what was not helpful for me was just this looming fear, because we hear these stats all the time. Did you know that more than 50% of marriages end in failure? You know, it's like that's everywhere. And that is not helpful. It's like the same business stats, you know, how many businesses struggle or don't do this it's like, whoa, not helpful. And I
Yeah.
realized that all of the judgments we have around other people, like, it has nothing to do with other people or their lives. These judgments that we have are we're just spooking ourselves. It's actually a way of judging ourselves and like putting more fear and more pressure on ourselves. And so I've realized like a hack to having more self compassion and to try to put less pressure on myself. And maybe it's easier for me in a way to just have more compassion and kindness to others and to really correct myself when a judgy thought comes in. And I find that sometimes is easier to focus on other people and the way that you think about them, and that will come back to you. And you will
Yes.
find that the thoughts, you know, it's the thoughts about yourself and how you're judging yourself will organically change, but then also just changing the climate inside yourself is judgments towards other. I mean, that's like pretty toxic. That's just pollution that's in your head, and it's really only harming you. Like being snarky about someone or thinking you know better or thinking you know their story, like you are actually the person that has to live with that, not them, not anyone else.
Yeah, I think that that's like a great benefit to, and it sounds like you have this too, of not having some of the traditional things, or not like, you know, even back to like when we were in school or whatever, like the one thing that I guess I feel pretty secure about is I really don't judge other people at all anymore because I have no place to. And if I see even like more of an empathy come up or I will feel a lot of it's not pity, but I can't really think of a better word. I'll feel a lot of like just like, oh my God, I just have so much compassion and love of like, oh my God, that could be me in a second, you know, of just
Mm-hmm.
and that is like a pretty intense feeling. You know, it's not judgment, it's yeah, but I think that's why people feel pretty open with me and able to kind of share. And that's something I is a real benefit, you know, I think to some of these, you know, uncomfortable feelings and the anxiety thing or, you know, having been through some stuff. But yeah, and I also think, like you said, like thinking about ourselves too. There's Jemima Kirk, much like you in this way, like said something on Instagram stories. I think she did a like Q&A or something, and somebody asked like, how do you be confident or how do you like get over insecurity or when you feel anxious in a situation or something, and she was like, y'all are thinking about yourselves too much. And it's so true. Like I think, you know, anytime I start to spiral, I'm like, oh yeah, it's hard though. I mean, we're with ourselves all day, so it's
Mm.
tricky.
Okay, I'm briefly interrupting this conversation. I'm so sorry, but I just must tell you, as you can hear, we've gone all over the place, Amanda and I. We've covered a lot of ground, but some ground that we did not get to is Moon Juice, her company, and really the one thing about it that I wanted to cover that only I can do in regards to Moon Juice is tell you what I love. And you know what? You can find out more about how she started the company and more about it and what it does and what it is. You probably already know, but she's talked about that on many other podcasts and it's on the website. So I'm actually fine with the fact that we didn't even touch on that, but I feel as though I want to tell you I love a couple of these products and I have for a very long time, and I would be remiss to not select a mere few of them to tell you about. And then also her team reached out and they're giving us a discount code if you do happen to want anything. Fully no pressure. This is not an ad, and this interview was not an ad. If you do happen to want anything or as a gift coming up, we have 15% off site-wide at moonjuice.com. So just use the code Let It Out. It's Let It Out in one word, so no spaces. And I'm going to use it myself. And this is what I'm going to get. But, you know, you can do whatever you want. But I feel like I want to. I've never actually said this before. And I have been using a couple of their things for a really long time. And I just want to, you know, do my favorites essentially. So first and foremost, I think I maybe mention it somewhere in the intro or outro of this, or maybe I'm just thinking of a friend I told about this, but there's a supplement on Moon Juice called Super Beauty. I didn't know that was the name of it. I thought it was called Beauty Pills, but it's called Super Beauty, and they are capsules. And I swear to you, I used to take them really consistently when I lived in New York, and I swear to you, yes, I was younger then, so you know what? Part of it is that, but I also took them, like, since I've moved to California, I just haven't been as consistent with them, and I haven't had them for a while. And whenever I would take them and then stop taking them, I noticed a difference, which is very uncommon for me with supplements. Usually I'm kind of like, I don't know if this even works. Like, I didn't really notice a difference. But with these, I did. And really what it is, I know for me, if I have vitamin C in this certain form, it really helps my skin. Also vitamin E and vitamin D3 and glutathione. And all of those things are in this and more and way more. You read about it on the website, but apparently there's some free radicals is involved, antioxidants is involved. It just actually helps. It's helped with my acne, and it says it can help with other things on here too. But you know, I enjoy taking this one supplement. So there's many more. There's one for hair, there's one for stress. I've tried them all, honestly, but this is the one, and I feel like this one's underrated. I feel like people talk about Super You or Super Hair, and those were fine, but this one this one is my favorite. So, whatever. Just take it or leave it. We're also, all bodies are different. This one you might really like as well, or you also might be really into the hair one, but not like this one so much. So, I'm just telling you what works for me. I also use their face wash, and I use it every single night. And it's called Melt Cleanse, and it's really gentle. It smells really good. It's easy to travel with. And I've used it for the entire time I've lived in California. So that's 4 years. And I think I used it before that maybe too, but I love it. And there's many other skincare products. I know Maddie uses their Cosmic Cream. She has drier skin than I do. I've used it before too. It smells incredible. I gave it to my mom for a gift once. But the one that I use consistently, like I said, is this Milk Cleanse. It's my face wash. It's my cleanser. I mean, I could call out a lot of other products, but I actually really like their dust, Sex Dust and Beauty Dust, and I used to put them in my smoothies all the time. I don't really make smoothies anymore, so I'm not really using them, but they're fun to give as gifts or like put in a little gift bag. Same for their snacks. Like, honestly, they're fun when you're making like a board because they're really colorful and kind of different. There's these activated turmeric, coconut, lime pepitas. The last thing I'll just say is this is not a review because I actually haven't had it, but there's a new magnesium. I believe they have 3 or 4, but the newest one is Cherry Sleepy Magnesium, and it just looks really good. I don't know. The branding worked on me. I'm going to try it because it just seems like it tastes good, and it might be something that I want to have in the evening. So I'm going to give that a go. Anyway, the code is Let It Out for 15% off anything you want on the site. No pressure, like I said, but if you do get something and you really like it, let me know. Maybe I'll want to try it too. Okay, thanks. Back to the episode.
Okay, so as we come to a close, and I've given you like an unfiltered little slice of my head this Monday morning, if you were a priest, could you please tell me how I have sinned? Like, what would these sins be?
Oh man, you have not sinned. I'm redefining sin, and you are absolved. We would have to go in and say, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned." It has been 3 weeks since my last confession, and then you start in, and so yeah, I'll say, "Bless you, Amanda. You have not sinned." It is your first time here on the confession program, but I hope you come back. It doesn't have to be 3 weeks, but I hope you do come back again for another time capsule with me. And truly, thank you so much. We went all over the place. I have these notes, but we somehow covered all of it and none of it at the same time, and I loved it. Is there anything that you wish that I would have asked about that you wanted to talk to you? Is there anything else you wanted to let out?
No, but I wish for our next time, I wish that you would have asked me about the 7 sins, and I could have shown you all the ways that I've sinned. I'm like, you really piqued my interest, and the teenager in me wants to like Google the 7 sins and say out loud how I have sinned in all those 7 ways. And how I'm really comfortable with that. Maybe that's the
yeah, that's a podcast. That's how that's a sleepover. Yeah. I really would like to like get into character for that one.
I want to like get creative, and I know like one of the deadly sins is, how do they pose it? Murder, slaughter.
I don't know. I have no idea what they are. I know adultery is one. I know like
so it's like, okay,
the name
like
of God, something
gluttony,
like that.
All of that. Like I just want to have some creative thinking and explaining to tick the box for all 7 sins, because the teenager in me is not living if I am not getting somewhere close to those 7 sins in a 3-week time period.
Yes. All right. Well, that's our next endeavor.
Okay. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you so much for doing this. It was so nice to talk to you. So we end by letting out a deep breath. Will you do it with me real quick?
I would love to.
Okay. Inhale. Let it out. Ah. Thank you again so much for doing this. This was great.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, that was my conversation with Amanda Chantal Bacon. Follow her everywhere. She's obviously very smart and articulate and was so kind to me in this. I really enjoyed getting to know her a little bit, and I hope you did too. Thank you so much for listening and sticking around to the end. If you like this podcast, if you liked this episode, share it. Let us know if you listened on Instagram or wherever. I have a Substack. If you want to hear more from me, that's the place to do it. I write a newsletter and send out these episodes every so often. And I recently made a zine, so you can get your hands on a copy of that. Info's in the show notes. So grateful that you listened. So grateful to Amanda for coming on. And I will talk to you really soon. A lot of cool stuff coming up. This podcast is edited by Jeremiah. I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.